Diddy thought he had a shot at a do-over, a new trial, a second chance. But prosecutors, they just doubled down, and the blowback was immediate. We're talking courtroom filings that don't just say no, they paint him as the mastermind of a criminal empire, running an organization like it was hip-hop's version of the mob. And the reason the judge might shut this retrial down without hesitation? Yeah, you'll want to hear this. So here's the setup. After being convicted on federal charges that could put him away for decades, Diddy's legal team filed for a new trial. The claim? That the first one was unfair. But prosecutors came back swinging, hard. Their response wasn't just "we object." It was basically, this man ran his empire like a criminal cartel. No retrial, no mercy. Tonight we're breaking down the prosecutors' arguments, what this means for Diddy's options moving forward, the emotional gut punch of Kid Cudi's testimony, and even how Diddy Free has become a meme while his fate looks anything but free. All right, let's break it down. So why does Diddy want a new trial? After his conviction, his legal team filed motions arguing the jury was biased, the evidence was flawed, and the trial itself was unfair. Basically, they threw every legal spaghetti strand at the wall, hoping something would stick. On paper, here's what they argued. Key witnesses were unreliable. Prosecutors used emotional testimony to prejudice the jury. The charges were stacked unfairly, painting him guilty by association. But let's keep it real. A new trial is a long shot. Courts rarely grant them unless there's proof of major misconduct, not just "we didn't like how this went." And prosecutors knew it. That's why their response wasn't just defensive, it was aggressive, because their filing doesn't just push back, it doubles down, painting Diddy not as a victim of bad lawyering, but as the ringleader of a criminal machine. Here's where things get brutal. In their response, prosecutors didn't just say no retrial, they went for the jugular. They painted Diddy as the mastermind of a criminal enterprise, laying out a picture that sounds less like a music mogul and more like a mob boss. Their filing described a network of employees, bodyguards, and insiders allegedly used to traffic women, intimidate witnesses, and launder money. Patterns of coercion that spanned years. The same locations, the same methods, over and over again. Victims whose stories, while told separately, lined up in ways that prosecutors say reveal a clear playbook. One line that stood out was almost cinematic. This defendant orchestrated and maintained a criminal enterprise with ruthless efficiency. And that's no accident. Prosecutors don't just write for the defense, they write for the judge. Every phrase is chosen to remind the court, this isn't a man who deserves a second trial. This is a man who deserves the maximum sentence. Some analysts even believe prosecutors are deliberately stacking the narrative now, so that when sentencing comes, the judge already has the picture of a kingpin burned into their mind. It's a tactic we've seen before. RICO cases against mobsters in the 80s, Tekashi 6x99's gang trial, even the Fed's case against Irv Gotti. The goal isn't just to win the motion, it's to brand the defendant as irredeemable. And if you're wondering whether that branding works, look at history. Once prosecutors start calling you the head of a criminal enterprise, juries, judges, and the public rarely forget. And if you thought the legal fight was cold, wait until you hear how Kid Cudi's raw, emotional testimony added a whole other layer of fire to this case. So what happens if the judge denies a new trial? Diddy still has options, but they're shrinking. He can file an appeal to a higher court, but appeals are slow. We're talking months, even years, and appeals don't retry the case. They only look at legal errors. That means unless his lawyers prove something like jury misconduct or evidence tampering, the original verdict stands. And here's the kicker. While appeals drag on, sentencing doesn't wait. His date is already looming. If the new trial bid gets shot down, we're still looking at an October sentencing where prosecutors are expected to push for decades behind bars. So his legal fallback is this: stall, appeal, and hope for leniency at sentencing. But after the prosecutor's latest filing, leniency feels like a pipe dream, because if the judge buys their framing, that Diddy ran his empire like a criminal cartel, sentencing won't be mercy, it'll be maximum. And if you thought the legal fight was cold, wait until you hear how Kid Cudi's testimony lit up the emotional side of this case. Kid Cudi's testimony. Kid Cudi isn't just another name on the witness list. He's one of the most honest, vulnerable voices in hip-hop. a man who built his career by openly sharing his struggles with mental health, addiction, and fame. So when he took the stand and described feeling threatened, manipulated, and pressured by Diddy's empire, it hit differently. For jurors, this wasn't a faceless victim. This was a celebrity they knew, respected, and maybe even related to. His words carried weight because they felt raw, unpolished, human. Reports from the courtroom said Cudi's voice cracked at points, and that jurors visibly leaned in. Prosecutors highlighted how Diddy allegedly retaliated when Cudi refused to cooperate, a detail that painted the picture of intimidation far beyond just industry beef. And here's the kicker. Prosecutors referenced his testimony again in their filing against a retrial. Why? Because it wasn't just emotional. It was strategic. By bringing Cudi's testimony back into the conversation, prosecutors are reminding the judge, this isn't just about legal technicalities. This is about real people, real fear, real scars. That's powerful. Because while judges don't decide cases based on sympathy, they're still human. Hearing Kid Cudi describe fear and retaliation makes it a lot harder to justify giving Diddy a clean slate. And history shows how emotional testimony can tip the scales. Think of the R. Kelly trial. The moment survivors spoke directly about the impact, the courtroom shifted. The same dynamic is at play here. For Diddy's team, this is the nightmare. Because you can argue technicalities all day long, but you can't easily erase the image of Kid Cudi, a beloved artist, saying he felt trapped under your client's shadow. So, when you stack the prosecutor's cold, calculated filing with Cudi's raw emotional story, it's clear why this retrial bid is crumbling fast. Here's where the irony kicks in. Even as prosecutors double down, the internet has its own way of processing chaos. Diddy Free started trending. Not because he's free, but because people online turned his legal disaster into memes. Some fans mocked the idea that he'd walk away. Others used it as a joke, posting Diddy Free under random celebrity photos like it was a coupon code. It's a bizarre split. Inside court, he's painted as a criminal mastermind. Outside, pop culture is remixing his downfall into internet theater. And Beyoncé, Jay-Z, Cardi B, Kid Cudi, all of them feel the ripple. Because when Diddy's name explodes, it splashes on everyone around him. That's the reality of fallout. In law, in music, and in memes. So here's where we stand. Diddy's bid for a new trial? Getting shredded. Prosecutors doubled down, painted him as a criminal kingpin, and left little room for sympathy. His legal options now? Appeals, stalling, and praying for leniency at sentencing. But with prosecutors framing him as the mob boss of hip-hop, mercy feels very far away. So what do you think? Will Diddy ever win a second chance? Or is this legal game already over before the next round begins? Drop your thoughts in the comments and hit subscribe. Because this courtroom drama, we're only getting started.